rebuilding a standard emitter kit for an electron beam gun. So you've got your emitter taken apart and the parts are everywhere. Best thing is to keep them as good as order with their bolts as possible. You got your filament laying there and your beam former and your anode plate and all your other parts. So the first thing that you can do is, let's see if you can see that good enough. Get your bar here and take the left side of the assembly. Let's get the other stuff out of the way. Take the left side of your assembly and attach it there with the bolts. So now you have the left lead connected to the left side of the filament assembly. The filament clamp is already on there. Usually in the telemark manual it's not on at that point, but I'll show you why later. I'm going to show two different ways real quick here for like a partial rebuild too. So the next thing you would get is you would get your ceramic L insulator for the other side. And you would need the left lead, which has the bigger holes, and your left side clamp. And we'll clamp that on there. And you'll have, for these ones, we'll have the little round ceramic insulators and washers. And we'll clamp that on there. I'll screw that in real quick. So now you have those on there. And at this point, you'd normally, like in the telemark manual, you would put the filament in and clamp it down loosely, not all the way. But I'm not going to do that. I'll do it at the end because sometimes you do a partial rebuild. You don't need to take the whole thing apart. You just want to get a new filament in there. So I'll do that. I'll show a different way. So the right side has those ceramic insulators and the longer screws. That's the right side lead that connects to the wire where you're getting power from. And so then the next part move on to will be to put the circular ceramic insulators onto the this U-shaped piece here. And those go on the top here. This side, and I'll just tighten that real quick. And there you can see got those parts on there now. Next part is to take the U bracket and just snug it up. None of these parts are getting tightened all the way yet. And just snug it up there with your Allen wrench. So we got this piece done. So the next step is the most important step, probably, or one of them. You want to put the filament in. Make sure it goes in the correct orientation. It's pretty critical, especially if you you want to put your emitter back together as closely as it was before. If you have color sensitive parts, reflectance measurements, and you don't want to go out of spec on it depending on what you're coating or what you're doing or what's going in the machine. You don't want to put this in backwards. I've seen engineers do that and just cause all sorts of havoc and trouble when that goes in. It'll usually break if it goes in like that, and you want that angled part to be on the right side. You don't want it to go in backwards like that. Easiest way is to just can't remember, lay it out in front of you how it's going to go back in. Get your new one out and lay it out how it's going to go back in. So this is different than in the manual from some of the manufacturers. That's kind of vague, but I'll put the right side back in on the filament clamp, and I'm going to push it in and put the beam former over that. So here I have the filament in, and I'm holding it down. Normally you want to be wearing some gloves. I don't have some gloves on at the moment, and so my finger oil is getting all over, so this isn't good. So I'll probably clean it with some ethanol or something. So I have it so that it's down flat and it's in the slots right, and I'm going to loosely tighten that up with the slot screwdriver. So it's coming back together, and now I am going to find the locating insulator. This little piece here is really easy to get lost. This one, it can bounce under a book or something. And put it in the slot on the right side of the filament assembly there. So that's in, And now I'm going to get the beamformer and put the beamformer on. So a lot of parts of the emitter are back together, and it's ready to connect more of them here. It's kind of hard to hold the camera in one hand and put stuff back together with the other. So I'll set it down, see if it's still a good view, and I'm going to bolt this filament assembly side part. I'm going to bolt that back in through here, through the back, and attach that part there. So now it's getting close to being ready to go back in your machine. I'm going to take the anode plate and just slide it over and attach it to the back there, and then it will be ready to go and snug up all the bolts and check it out. So the emitter is about ready to go back into your system. I usually just slide it over to the side of a nice stainless steel table or any kind of workbench and hold down on it, and all the parts are snugged up, and just make sure they're all tightened, and tighten them all up at that point. All the bolts that go to it, and this is cleaning a emitter and putting it back together. Clean it with some Scotch-Brite because the oxidation stuff that occurs under vacuum coating. So a lot of times you might not need to clean the whole thing or replace parts. You just need to get a new filament in maybe. The rest of it looks pretty good, so a lot of times I just that's why I put the filament in the way I did, and I'll probably tighten it up and have a look at it afterwards. So a lot of times just take off the anode plate and the beamformer and take the filament out and put a new one in, make sure it's all straight and working good in there, and put it back in your system and get going. So I got this at the edge of the bench, the Allen wrench there ready to tighten up all the bolts, and it should be ready to go at this point. It's just everything's snug. There are certainly other ways to put it together. There's in the manual, and for telemark it's different. So they have to put the filament in earlier in the process and put it in while both clamps are off, and it's a good way to make sure it's straight. I know how to do it after doing it enough times to get what I'm after, dropping it in before I put the beamformer on it, and so there you have it, and it's ready to go back in the system.